The Fortress arc doesn't say you cannot defend yourself or even participate in drama. It's about keeping a light attitude, being positive, and being constructive. All right, what is this? Hasan!
Why did you calling the gay man the F slur? Oh, it's friend of the show. What's his face? It was a friend of the show's tweet. He's a gay man. I didn't see that it was an F slur, so I unliked it immediately after I found out that it was an analogy for the F slur by putting a cigarette.
Oh, wait. We need we need context on this. Okay. So this is let me get the right. Alex Walker is this guy. He's running against Lauren Boebert. So basically, here's the vibes. Can we get the original video was basically just him complaining about Bernie bros. Not the original, just
Yesterday, I got canceled for making.
Oh, here. Thank you. Okay, somebody else posted it. I see. Woohoo! 1.1 million. All right, everyone. Listen, okay? You can't. I don't want to see the slurs that you're thinking in chat, but I'm thinking them too.
I love when people are like,
"You have a moderate policy. You lost my vote."
"Oh, what vote was that? Was that the vote you were going to give to some Bernie wannabe whose overkill policies are unpopular with 75% of voters, just so you could feel good about yourself until they lose the general election, at which point you'll point your finger and blame someone else? That vote? Oh, honey, your vote got lost a long time ago. Democrats need to wake up. Jesus, in order to legislate, we have to win. Go to walkerforcolorado.com and stop complaining." Woo!
Now, you can disagree with the messaging here all you want. And I do. I have no idea why you would ever, when trying to, like, win an uphill battle, why you would ever take this attitude towards, like, sectarianism within your potential voting group. And that's not even to speak to the fact, by the way, what he's saying here is incorrect. Bernie Sanders in 2016 moved the entire Democratic Party leftward. Hillary Clinton and everyone else. And now in 2020, everyone's trying to keep pace with him. He moved everyone's positions over because his positions were that popular. Like, the idea that, like, Bernie Sanders' positions were super unpopular is a fantasy. It's just not true. There's a bunch of different data on Medicare for All, and it depends on how you phrase the question. But, like, one of the reasons Bernie Sanders did so well, despite being a fucking dark horse candidate, is the fact that his policies are incredibly popular, you know? Anyway, but this guy's, like, basically, I think, like, a conservative neoliberal, like, economically conservative. Like, you're not getting your minimum wage raised under this guy. No. I don't think he's quite as bad as Manchin. He was a Republican until recently. Is he really? Did he? Okay, wait, is he one of those Lincoln Project types who was like a Republican until the integrity of the Republican Party got ruined by Trump? And then, yeah, he was? Woo! But anyway, none of this matters. Clearly, the main thing that's wrong with him is that he's a white gay and he's annoying about it. I'm not kidding. I grew up next to West Hollywood. I am gay. I am white. I am a man. I grew up next to other gay white men. I can say whatever the fuck I want. And it is that, oh my God, I am so fucking tired of white gay men acting like black women trying to serve tea to distract from the underlying sociopathy of the shit that they're saying. You will not girl boss your way out of my contemptuous hatred, Mr. Former Republican, current Democrat, right-leaning neoliberal gay man. Anyway, that's the video. Here's another one.
For making the Yesterday, I got canceled for making the outrageous claim that ultra-progressive candidates can't win in blood red districts like mine, and that if you vote for one, you're throwing your vote away. Yeah.
Every vote matters, but don't throw yours away on some ultra-liberal pipe dream who has no shot just to make yourself feel warm and fuzzy at night. In order to legislate, Democrats must win. And in order to win, we need to nominate candidates who represent the district and play smart with common sense policies that can win.
So keep in mind, what he's saying right here is true. It's good political strategy. You know what else is good political strategy? Not attacking the people more left-leaning than you and disregarding their positions. If it was actually some kind of political strategic consideration, you know, if your line is to be like, listen, I know I'm not as left-leaning as a lot of you people want, but keep in mind, this is a pretty red district, and we're going to need to, like, work with what we can to overturn a lunatic like Laura Boebert. If that was the, if that was like the messaging moving forward, you know, and that's agreeable. Seriously, I think that's agreeable. It's one of the reasons why I don't care that much about, like, primarying Joe Manchin, because, like, I'm pretty sure Joe Manchin is the better option from the area Joe Manchin's from. You know, Kirsten Sinema, not so much. She could be replaced with a real progressive, but Joe Manchin's already at the upper end of what we're getting over there. But this right here, I mean, you know, whatever. You can just say it's stirring up or trolling or whatever, but yes.
Not some platform designed to placate your overwoke Twitter temper tantrum pipe dreams. And we need someone strong enough to stand up to the bullshit, including Lauren Boebert's bullshit, but also including the bullshit in our own party trying to tear down Democrats with a shot. TLDR.
This equating, like, QAnon Republican bullshit with, like, we need to fight against the two great evils, Stacy Hitler, sorry, and also Bernie bros who want a higher minimum wage. You know, I will equate these two groups, you know, people who think better things are possible and are maybe not, like, flawless with their political strategy, and also QAnoners, Laura Boebert, you know, these are the same in my head.
I'm not sorry, and I've got my eye on the only prize that matters, winning for all of us.
Just something tells me this guy holds a lot more hate in his heart for Bernie bros than he does, like, Laura Boebert. Somebody quote tweeted this. No one canceled you. Everyone just called you a smarmy, annoying cigarette. You get it? A cigarette's in Britain, that's what they're saying. I have two things to say on this. First of all, being fully serious, you actually cannot be bigoted against a person because you don't like their political positions. It actually doesn't work that way. You can't do it. I can do it because I'm a member of that group. And in my head, this guy is, like, flagging every single stereotype for somebody in my head that I'm thinking just like, just you know, just if you think, like, I've got, like, you know, funny misogyny up here, white gay men, holy shit, it's to the racetracks. It's, oh god, so much energy up here, so much of my neural activity dedicated to homophobia exclusively against white gay men. What about black gay men? Not a problem. Not a problem. I grew up near West Hollywood. This is a very specific thing. And by the way, if you actually want a sociological explanation, my best guess for it is that white gay men have a particularly callous and ignorant approach towards appropriating AAVE and, like, black queer culture in general. Because what you have here are, if you're a white gay man, especially in, like, a more affluent area, like in West Hollywood, or wherever this guy's from, because just taking a guess, something tells me he didn't exactly grow up on, like, Skid Row. Just a feeling that I have. You've got people who are loaded with a lot of class privilege, racial privilege. They're men, which means they have a chauvinism and a misogyny that they get away with because once they learn they're gay and they're out of the closet, their misogyny becomes empowering all of a sudden. You ever hear gay men talk about pussies like disgusting or like how women are gross or whatever, but it's like, oh, it's because they're gay. It's like, well, no, it's still misogyny when you do that. You're just doing it gaily. You're just doing misogyny homosexually. So I feel like a lot of white gay men basically are in this weird position where they are every bit as internally toxic as like the most hegemonically masculine people out there. And at the same time, they are enough a member of like a minority group by being a gay guy that they don't get called out in it in the same way. You just have this like, you know what I'm talking about? There's a reason why so much like language goes from like queer black community to black women to white men who are gay to white women to everyone else. You know, like that's legitimately how it goes. It's happened with like so many different terms and words and phrases. It's queer black community, black women, white gay men, white women, all other groups. Like the high in terms of like the appropriative hierarchy or whatever. I don't know. There's just something about this. It's something about this. I don't know. So anyway, Hasan liked the tweet. And now we return to the original context of the video we were looking at.
Getting in trouble for liking edgy tweets by gay people now? I can't. Yeah, no, I mean, but talking about. I do understand it. Okay, I get it. It's tough because I want to be understanding for homeless people, but it's rough part. Fucking, there was a fucker twat out that it was an. But no, I liked it originally. He said, no one canceled you. Everyone just called you a smarmy, annoying cigarette. And I didn't see this. Like, I didn't understand. I just thought everyone just called you smarmy and annoying is what I thought he said. So then I unliked it.
Honestly, I feel like you really have to reach to say that what he's saying here isn't believable. That's like that's the most normal explanation in the world. The cigarette is like a tiny little emoji. You know, you flash see a tweet on your phone, smarmy and annoying. Oh, and he is smarmy and annoying. Like it, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Could he be lying? Sure. Like we can't really prove it either way, but that's like a pretty reasonable explanation. Yeah. Even so, let's say that he did know what the content of the tweet was and liked it and then later unliked it because he decided he didn't want to deal with the drama. I feel like Chris Rock. Is it Chris Rock who did this? Is it another stand-up comedian I'm thinking of? Who was the guy who used to have the bit where he would say the difference between the N-words and the N-words, but he stopped it because white people were laughing along with it and he didn't really know? That was Chris Rock? That was Chris Rock? Okay, that's how I feel right now, okay? As a guy, I feel like I'm staring at an audience of heterosexuals. By the way, like half of you are gay. But let's assume you're not, you know, just for safety's sake. Gays are dangerous. And you know, it's like I'm a writer for the Boondocks, you know, because if I make homophobic jokes at the expense of white gay men, I feel like I can for the same reason that I'm okay with the Boondocks writers making jokes about black culture. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there are legitimate in-group grievances that it's okay to express. And at the same time, I don't want you guys feeling like it's okay to just call every gay person you disagree with the F-slur or whatever. Or even if a gay guy's being annoying or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't think you should get that pass. I don't know like what people are going to laugh at with regards to that particular kind of, I don't know. Just take this away if nothing else, okay? It's like calling a black guy you disagree with the N-word. Like, come on, dude. See, I think that's too simplistic of a reading for the main reason being that, like, a lot of gay people just say all the time with their friends in, like, a ubiquitous context. You know what I mean? Like, I have and have had friend groups where you can say just without abandon. And there are trans groups where they say the T-slur all the time, you know. But then when that gets seen publicly, it's like, okay, well, what do you really mean? What are you actually saying? And then there's that thought-action divide. Just straight, be closer to, you know, the safe side with this stuff, I'd say. Yeah, I don't know. I want to talk about it more, but I might stop projecting your friends and everyone, Lamau. All right. Bascal, now it's your turn. I didn't project my friends onto anything. It is a fact that there are plenty of queer spaces where people say regularly. If that bothers or offends you, if you want to take away my right as a pansexual man to use language that I think is descriptive of harm that is done against my group broadly, then say that with your whole chest. But do not with this, this half, like, I disagree with you, but I'll misascribe your position in order to... No, Pascal, you're not memeing your way out of this. No. I feel like it's pretty easy to tell when a person is saying in a homophobic way or not. I feel like I've got a really good radar on that, I could talk to almost anyone in any context in a conversation where they use the word and I could get a really, really good read for how they feel about gay people or trans people, because a lot of people who say derogatorily would also call a trans woman. I don't know, it's dicey to try and have a radar for slurs. The thing is, though, like, the slurs aren't, like, it's not like slurs are the only harmful words, right? Like, there are tons of words that are used and coded in harmful ways. I'm not one of these people who believes that you can never use these slurs or whatever. Personally, let me just use this because I have this thing open. No, don't. Okay. There's like two worlds. Okay? You must understand. There's the there's the line. Okay? World A and world B. You understand? Are you following so far? I hope you're following so far. Wait, I have another layer I can do this on. Why would I? Okay, we're following? Okay, so here's the thing. Can you add a C? No. Listen. In world A, this is our approach to dealing with bigotry. We ban all slurs from public use, without any exceptions or contextual, caveats, and just whenever you use them at all, like, that's bigotry, and because nobody uses them in public anymore except for the extremely bigoted people who would get socially shunned for their bigotry, which is the case in most parts of America, at least. Most, not all, but most. And then to determine whether or not a person is racist, you have to, like, kind of look at their coded language elsewise. And then world B is basically like, the slurs are not inherently bad on their own. You have to work it out through the context. I legitimately wonder if this wouldn't have been the better road to take, because we're in world A right now. And the issue is that racists say anything and everything, and they get away with it because it's not a racial slur, right? Like, right now, it's like, oh, well, he can't be racist. They haven't said the N-word or burned a cross, And let's be fair, if, like, a Republican senator was found to have burned a cross in his youth, they would also start doing excuses for that. But, like, it seems like right now the system that we have is one in which we draw the boundary for explicit racism at the use of slurs, which means that obviously no one who's trying to be bigoted will use them because it would kind of give the game away. And what that means is you have this, like, really weird context game that you have to play out with adjacent terms like thug or fairy or whatever, and it's like, well, are we being honest? Well, I don't know. I wonder if we lived in a different world where, like, we never drew that distinction between the evil, horrible slurs that no one can say and, like, regular words which may or may not be racist. Recognize that they're all words which may or may not be racist depending on their use. I wonder if we wouldn't have things be a little bit... I mean, isn't this the Southern strategy? When Lee Atwater was saying, like, well, the Republicans couldn't go around saying N-word, N-word, N-word anymore, so they had to talk about forced busing and states' rights and blah-de-blah. Would the fight against racism be easier if racists felt comfortable and had some degree of social permission to engage in more explicit racism? Would it not be easier to call Trump a racist if, like, up until his 60s, he was regularly calling black people the N-word as a matter of course? There are probably other negative externalities to this particular thing. I don't really know. It's something that it wouldn't just be racist saying that stuff then, so I think it'd be harder. Well, that's the thing. I think that if you're a reasonable person and you got your brain juice up here, I feel like it's honestly pretty easy to understand whether the use of a slur is being used in a harmful way or not. it's difficult to tell when non-slurs are being used in a harmful way or not, because there are so many dog whistles coded into them. It can be difficult, I think, to figure that out. The ambiguity hasn't gone away. All we've really done is make racism less explicit. I honestly have to wonder if just freely using everything and having, like, not me individually, but everyone socially, would actually make the world safer, you know? I actually have to wonder about that. I don't really know. This is basically like a fairy tale argument, because there's nothing we could ever do to change like a historical and linguistic trend like this. But I think it'd be interesting. I don't know about that, TBH. Well, I don't know either. You know, I just wonder if there wouldn't be some problem solved. I guess, like, I'll ask you guys this. Imagine that you're like a black dude in the 40s and you've come back from the war, World War II. Now, back in the 40s, like, people say the N-word pretty often. I imagine that the word most commonly used would be like negro. I should have said it. I should have had the balls and said it. I'll say it next time. I'll say it twice next time to make up for it. But that would have been the most common one. Like, if you look at Dr. King's writings in the 50s and 60s, like, that's what he uses to say, like, black people. But I have to ask, in a world where those words are used pretty much ubiquitously, even by pro-civil rights people, do you think black people back then had a hard time figuring out who was racist? I don't think they did. I think it was actually extremely clear. Even when these terms were used that freely, I feel like it was incredibly easy for them to figure out who was or wasn't racist, because it's not about the words used, not always about the words used at least, but about the vibe you get from a person and the way in which those words are delivered, the context in which they're delivered. And did black people get safer when the N-word was excised from public use? Well, for that, the answer, as far as I can tell, is an unambiguous no. Maybe you could argue that it's better for the well-being and mental health of minority groups for it to be that stigmatized, for them to hear open and outward discrimination, but in terms of like material outcomes, stuff hasn't improved that much for black people since the civil rights movement, because so much of it was tied up in economic inequality that we never actually addressed. I don't actually know. I just don't. I don't know. Also, it was reclaimed. Well, negro was never reclaimed. Nobody uses that anymore. That is some great grandma racism.